Hi, I'm Don Burnett, and continuing with our pruning series, one of the most important things a person has to recognize is bark inclusions. And I'll bet you've never heard of bark inclusions before. So after watching this video, you're going to know something that 90% of the people out there, even the professionals, don't understand. A bark inclusion is probably the most dangerous thing that a tree can get, because that is where you're going to have weak branch attachments. And as the branch grows in size, this weak attachment becomes vulnerable to breakage. And that's where you have your failure, your branch failures in many, many trees after a big, large wind. Bark inclusions can be noticed the moment you buy a tree. Even when a tree is this size, when you go into the nursery, you can look for bark inclusions. A bark inclusion is simply when you look into the attachment, this is called a crotch, and when you look into that crotch of the attachment, you see a gape, and that gap is where the bark literally folds in. Okay, that's called included bark. Now, if you look at this pine tree and you see this crotch here, this tight, it is actually quite a tight angle, and if you break this apart, which it broke apart, you'll see just what I mean by the included bark. There's very, very little actual wood holding that crotch together, and so that's why it was vulnerable, and that's why it split apart. Now, here is a tree here that has quite a tight attachment, but it does have what we call the branch bark ridge coming right over top of the crotch area there. And here it is. This one is included, and this one is not included. This one will eventually become vulnerable to breakage, and this one will not. So that's one of the most important things to recognize when you're buying a tree, to look for bark inclusions on the branch attachments.